Welcome back. I'm going to try to show you a little bit of what I was talking about in the earlier videos concerning breaking it down into a set of patterns. This is a portrait of Abigail. As you can see, the reference photo was a little bit, could be better, but it's not bad. It's got some pretty good blacks and whites and darks and shadows. Now, when I take the photographs that I receive from my clients, I'll tend to also play with the contrast and some things to try to make it look a little bit better. But still, this is what you got to work with. So now we talked about the three basic shapes and how you break everything down into a pattern. And what you're trying to do is you're not painting any particular thing. You're not painting a nose or an eye or a mouth. In this particular case, to be kind of short, we're going to do just the inside of this area right here. So we want to look at the patterns. And if you can see in the reference photo, this upper pattern right here is clearly a triangle. So there's a triangular pattern right there. And that triangle angle actually comes all the way down to the start of this section. The other side of the triangle actually has something of a curve. Now, what makes this interesting is at the bottom, there's actually a rectangular pattern right here, and it's also cylindrical. And that is to say that the bottom of this portion of the pup actually turns. It has a turn. This turns too slightly outward. It's difficult to get that by color, but it's good. You can easily get it by the angle of the shot. So I'm going to take my typical formula for a skin tone, because basically the dogs have a skin tone just as humans do. And I'm going to mix together some yellow ochre and some cadmium red medium, and that develops kind of a darker skin tone that may be a little bit particularly too yellow. And then if I add my bone black to it, I'm going to get a darker color skin tone that approaches the brown. Hopefully that'll be enough. So then I look back at this angle right here, and this is triangle pattern I want to get that arches out a little bit, and it's a little bit brighter right along through here. So there's a section of brightness or brighterness. By the way, this is the third layer on these portions. I did the third layer on the nose and the eyes yesterday, and a second layer on everything else. It's obviously still got a long ways to go, but this will be the third layer, and in some cases it may be close to the final layer. This eyebrow I'm not totally happy with yet. The eye's not too bad. But anyway, so I'm coming back now and I'm putting down a little bit more of that pattern right there and pulling that triangle, a little curve on the outside edge, if you can see that. Now that's starting to show up a little bit more. It actually gets a little bit darker from that point down to the bottom of it here. So I'm going to try to add a little more of my bone black, which didn't quite do it. So I'm going to cheat just a little bit and use a touch of Payne's Gray, which, remember, that's a cool blue black, and that gives us a much darker tone for right there. So there's a pattern right there, and that same dark black or dark skin tone comes over here. And I'm going to blend those out and let those meet. And so now I've got a little bit better sense of this. I still want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to add some more of that Payne's Gray and darken this one pattern section right here. And then look and see this pattern section right here gets dark at the top. It gets darker as it comes toward the turn of the cylinder that's at the base of the, and I guess I just have to refer to it, the base of her jowl right here. This gets dark on back into here too. Now back in this back corner is quite dark, and I'm going to go back now and just get some straight bone black and a little Payne's Gray and pull that into this area. Now notice I'm putting, this is the one thing that I don't probably get to explain or don't explain adequately enough. I grab the paint, I put it down, and now I'm starting to push and pull it around. The photograph gets a little fuzzy right here in terms of where things go. This whole section is a little bit confusing in the photograph, so I'm going to kind of make the dark part go right there into a triangular pattern. See, right there's a triangle. So I'm going to put a triangular pattern there. This area right here gets darker and then fuses in over the light that's right there. So I can use, notice I haven't picked up any new paint. This is still the same paint I had couple of minutes ago. So I'm pulling that paint around and trying to figure out where all it needs to go. Pushing, pulling, there's another real dark little pattern right there I'm going to apply in and kind of blend that out and around and pull that on down. If I'm lucky, and now at this point I'm going to clean the brush. So I got it cleaned and wiped with my other rag or paper towel, and I'm going to pull this down around over that highlight spot. Now, here's what, I don't have to re-add that highlight spot if I've played it smart and let my paint feather out over it. Same thing here. If I'm not getting too careless and wiping out my little highlight pattern that goes right there, and pull that on down a little bit and soften the edge by pulling those colors over that light that's already there. And there you go. Now we've got something that's probably okay. That one little patch right there may need to be a little bit brighter. I can come back and add a little brighter skin tone right there. Clean out my brush and push and pull that around. Hopefully if I've got the camera where you can see it. But push and pull that around and up and blend that down some. And now it looks like it's coming out and meeting up with the lighter white right there. Now, of course, as we talked about many times on the acrylic, because of there's also, and I'm looking now and realizing there's a little lighter section right there above that dark patch. So while I've got some of that light on my brush, I'm just adding little bitty bits. Now, it's hard for you to see on the video. It's hard to see in real life. But that was almost no paint on my brush right then. I'm not 100% satisfied that it's dark enough where this triangle up here starts. So I've grabbed some more of the Payne's Gray in the dark. And I'm going to pull a little bit of that over too. So now at this point, I've got to wait. I've got to be patient. And this is certainly not easy for me. I'm not a patient person as a general rule, except when it comes to art. But because of the fact that this, I'll need to see what this actually did and is going to do as it dries. This may be fine. It may have done everything I needed it to do, and yet it may not have. So right now, that one little section which I just completed, I didn't paint the inside of her mouth. I painted the triangle, the dark circular shape right there, another triangle of dark here, another triangle of dark out there. This is kind of really a rectangular shape of dark. And then this here is actually a rectangle that rolls over a little bit like that. So we now have, see what I just did? I touched it with too much dark on the brush. So I simply wash it out, and now I push and pull that around, and voila, what you would think was a mistake actually becomes what I needed to do. But now that that's done, and I think that's probably going to give me a decent enough sense, and maybe not. I'm still looking at it and seeing these be a little darker over here. And this angle needs to change just a little bit. So this art needs to be a little bit better. So I'm going to come in with some more of my dark red. Okay, so now this is okay for now. Of course, I put my brush in the bucket. I'll clean it out in a second. This is okay for now, and you can see how that's starting to get a better sense of how it's up here, rolls in, and rolls out. So whenever you're analyzing these little sections, and notice this is what, maybe a 2" by 1.5" inch section right there that I worked on. That's what you kind of want to confine yourself to. What's the patterns in there? The next step, obviously, is I'll come down on her tongue and start looking at where are my patterns here and try to recreate the sense of the patterns as the tongue. But if you stick with this working a little section, try to analyze which is the pattern, which is the circle, which is the triangle, which is the rectangle, you'll wind up recreating a pattern that your viewer will look at and go, oh, inside of a dog's mouth. So hopefully that will help you.